Hey everybody, welcome to the program on How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and today I have an amazing guest. Livia Jenvey is here with us. Yay! And she's amazing. She's an author and a speaker and a consultant. She's out of Los Angeles, California, and she has written an amazing book called Daily Productivity Hacks. And so, Livia, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you. It is a pleasure and honor to be here with you today.
But what's your background in?
I did corporate consulting for about over 20 years. And then I also went into the fitness world and started originally as like a yoga teacher, then moved into being a fitness coach. And then I moved into coaching both leaders and coaching with businesses. So that's sort of the very short of how I got into that.
Yeah. So what made you go from doing yoga to wanting to deal with corporate America?
Well, I started in corporate America first. So I started about over a decade in corporate America, and then I moved into yoga because I was basically at the time it was the stock market crash, and I decided let's change everything and I'm done with corporate and let's move into doing something more, in essence, holistic, good for the body, because I'd sat for many years.
Sure.
And also too, I really got into yoga a decade before that due to a car accident because I was hit by a hit and run one night and it messed up my back pretty bad. I had the third lumbar was herniated disc, and then my spine was all messed up from my neck here. And so I went through physical therapy. It was hard for me to sit. I did all this ergonomic setup for sitting at a desk all day. And I still had a lot of pain. And so I started yoga through my physical therapist to help me heal it. And it really did a phenomenal job to heal my back. And I just liked it so much. And then when everything just hit the fan with the stock market, I said, you know what, let's try something completely different. So
Yeah.
it was a great transition time.
Good for you. So do you still practice yoga now?
Yep, I still practice it now. It's been now over 20 years now that I do yoga. So I do it at home. I do classes, still teach it occasionally, but more or less I do it for fun now.
So after 20 years of doing yoga, is it any different now than it was when you first started?
Yes, yoga is definitely a practice that is an evolving practice, and it will have days where I will do a crazy pose, and then I'll have days where it's just like my body just wants to just lay on my back and do savasana. Like it's just
Right.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've learned to listen to your body.
Yes, I think it was the best lesson I learned through that whole process was to listen to my body, because before that I wasn't listening to my body. I was beating it up pretty badly. And that accident really came at a time in my life where I needed to get sort of a wake up call of like, hey, you are pushing your body too hard. You're doing too much. You're sitting too many hours. I was not eating well. I was just not in a good space health wise. And so it just came to a point in my life where it helped me realign myself, became more aware of my body and more aware of what I need to do to help myself better every single day. And that also translated into other parts of my life, because when I started yoga, it was in the corporate world. So it helped out a lot as I transitioned in different roles and different positions, working for different companies and doing a lot of contract work that would be definitely pretty taxing on your body. So it was something that really helped with that. And then when I moved into becoming that is a fitness coach early on, it was interesting because a lot of my clients I worked with were in the corporate world at the time. And so I was helping them go through sort of what I had gone through in dealing with the fitness and health and getting back to realigned and getting much better. And then it also started spiraling into more of like self-leadership and leading ourselves and better. And especially if you are, so for me, I describe leaders as someone who takes care of anyone. So a leader doesn't have to be someone who has a title. It could be a mom, it could be a dad, it could be someone who runs a little league. If you are in charge of other individuals, you're in essence considered a leader because they're looking up at you to give them guidance of what to do next. And us every single day, we're in some sort of leadership position. And so how do we stay moving forward and be able to do what we need to do. And so that's one of the catalysts to why I wrote Daily Productivity Hacks, this book, because in working with my clients, from starting off in the fitness world and then moving into leadership coaching and business coaching, I started noticing the same types of challenges where it was, as leaders, we weren't giving ourselves moments that really could take care of ourselves so that we continue to become effective leaders and be able to get things done and work with our teams and be able to do that.
You know, I love that you said that about, well, there's a bunch of things that you said that were really great. Taking people, leader is anybody who's taking care of somebody else. I think that's really good. So, because there's so many people out there that have the title of leader and they're doing a terrible job of taking care of others.
Yes.
So, and then, you know, there's the people out there that are taking care of others, but they're doing a terrible job of taking care of themselves. And so, you know, I guess that's what our real message is teaching people how to really value self-care. And then when you feel really good about yourself, you are able to take care of others and be more others focused because you feel good, right? Physically, emotionally, mentally, you feel good. You feel secure. You don't have to be greedy or be worrying about covering your own assets, you know, and because, because you feel secure already. And so the best leaders are really focused on growing other people, right? And so many people that I've met in leadership positions feel like they don't have time to grow or take care of their people, or they feel like, you know, if I develop you, you're just going to take my job. And so that just all comes from fear. So so how do you help people deal with that then? Because I'm sure you come up with that resistance, you know, when you're working with leaders. So what are some of the things that you've learned that help people to overcome that resistance?
It really depends on the leader itself. Most leaders want to be able to do their job effectively, and that's either being able to meet sort of revenue goals or meeting certain product goals, or even just being able to, you know, look good in front of their own leaders and bosses, for example. And so it comes down to really their motivation of how to do it. And something I talk a lot about with a lot of the leaders that I work with is the effectiveness of how your employees are happy and how much more productive they are. Because I just heard a statistic recently that it takes about a 6-figure salary to hire a new employee. That's the amount of time and effort it takes to hire a new employee. And employees who are not happy, they leave very quickly in companies. And so it becomes a deterrent for just the bottom line financial for a business to let people go and see a revolving door, because that just takes up way too much time for everyone involved. And so that is something that I tend to address a lot with leaders, to give them sort of a reality check of the you know, yeah, it's taking care of your people so that they're happy, so that you actually, in essence, are, by revenue standards, are making more money, because businesses who have happier people are way more productive than businesses that have, you know, people who are very miserable. And also too, a lot of it starts with the leader itself, because if a leader is not taking care of themselves, I find this most of the time with the leaders I work with, they're not taking care of their people, because it's not in their mindset of thinking about, okay, well, I need to make sure that I'm getting some time to just chill during the day after I've had like a busy day working and fighting fires. If they're not thinking about that, they're less likely to see that in those that they lead as well. So a lot of the work that I like to do is really start with the leaders to become very aware of it, specifically like what is their strong points, what are things that they need to be more challenged and work at, and then also who do they need on the team that really solidifies for them to have a great team, and then making sure that they're providing more for them ongoing and forward. And it doesn't have to be things of trainings. It could just be, I have one client that I've worked with for years. in helping him define how to become a better leader for himself day to day, he's more aware of how his team is doing. So he reaches out to me and says, hey, you know, I've got this new member I just brought on board. She's struggling on doing a couple things here and there. What are you things that I should recommend for her to do? And I, you know, those are where I help him and provide him little guidance here and there. But he's more aware of that now because of the work that I've helped him become more aware of, like things that he should do to help himself to be a better leader for himself in his day-to-day activities.
Yeah, beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, you're right on with that. Self-awareness is key because there's so many unconscious beliefs and biases that people have, and these blind spots that we call it. You know, we call them blind spots for a reason. You know, you don't know what you don't know, and
Yep.
we all have it, right? And so I think that a lot of times people are resistant to leadership training because they're afraid someone's going to come in and start busting them out and making them look bad, right? And that is not the case. The case is we're here to empower you and make you look good, make you look better than you are right now. And because most people just do not have a real accurate awareness of how they're coming across to others. And they have their theory, they have their opinion of it, but they don't really know. So usually, I don't know about you, but I don't get brought in and usually until a company finally rolls out an employee engagement survey and finds out, oh, half our people don't trust our leadership team, right? And so they start to recognize that that's the issue. So yeah, I'm hoping, I don't know if you agree with this, but I'm hoping that we're in a time where we're starting to finally pivot and people are realizing that the soft skills are, you know, where your biggest opportunity for financial growth and success is, because you know, that leadership skills, that's communication, right? That's being sensitive to the feelings of others, right? That's having more than one way of communicating, right? That's what the soft skills really are. And that's what leadership is, being able to be more others focused instead of just self-focused.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. A lot of the work that I do with my company, I do some consulting work, and that's where I bring in a team to do a full 360 analysis. If a company is looking at either to sell, to do like a merge with another company, or as well as looking to sort of shift the company around and maybe like open up a new location with some of the manufacturing companies that I worked with. And a lot of the times what I find is that it's the lack of awareness from the leadership of where their team is at. And that is the challenge, because everyone, I find that the companies I come and work with, like the employees really do want to do a good job. Like they're there not just to make a paycheck. Everyone's there to make a paycheck, but really they do want to do a good job for their employers. And if they're doing skills that they, you know, enjoy a lot, having a leader who really honors that, respects it, has that soft skills, as you said, knows sort of how to handle the emotional stuff that does happen. You know, if you're in a very heated situation where like you've got a very tough deadline, things need to run really fast, you know, things can get very heated and emotions can run high. But when there's an effective leader, as you said, who knows how to manage that and maneuver that sort of soft skills, it really makes a huge difference. And I see that a lot in the work that I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's interesting, you know, just even the basic stuff. Sometimes I'll just come in and teach manners, right? When we're doing an executive meeting, don't cut people off, right? Let people finish their sentence and then say, well, that's interesting. You could be right, you know, and validate the thought, which I sit there all the time and watch people go, well, I don't agree with that. No, we're not that, you know, and it shuts people down. And so there's such a lack of psychological safety. And so, you know, you're missing so much potential. And a lot of my clients, you know, they've made a lot of money. And so success can make you a poor listener, right? It can make you a little arrogant. And usually people aren't really open until they get punched in the stomach and then they fall to their knees and then all of a sudden they're open.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
see that. It's that's with the consulting work I do. I'm that person that comes in when they've been basically punched in the stomach a lot, and I come in and just give them saying, here's things that I see within your company with our team that I've some great experts that come in and just give them analysis, and a lot of the times it really is just how the leaders are working with their teams and how are they managing the folks and how are they acknowledging them. I definitely see a lot of a disrespect a lot in a number of organizations, and it's not conscious. It's just that it's the way things have been done. You just get stuff done, you just move forward. But I think it's just it is a shift that I'm seeing a lot more now of people are no longer willing to work for owners or companies who are not respecting them for doing good jobs and really helping them understand like they're appreciated and they're respected in the workplace.
that's it. Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the head right there. Right. That's, I think, why the times have changed, just with the internet and the ability for people to share stories, hold others accountable. All right. I mean, there's so much stuff now on the internet that, it's creating at some levels, more accountability, and people are taking a stand, and people in power are being held more accountable. Not across the board, obviously, but but
It's
it's,
getting there. It's baby steps, I think. But you
I
probably
think
see
you're
a
right.
lot more than me, but yeah.
Yeah, we are definitely in the baby steps phase of it. So, because I still, even with all of this, there's probably only about 10 to 15% of companies that are really taking charge and doing this. Most companies are still old school, my way or the highway, and they're just losing employees, and they have high turnover, and they just don't care, right? And so, or they care, but they're, whatever their blind spots are not allowing them to do anything about it. So, so you wrote a book called Productivity or Daily Productivity Hacks, right?
Hmm.
And so, what are some of the productivity hacks that you feel like are the most popular ones, where the people are like, wow, I really like this one? Because a lot of people don't feel like they're creative, right? And so they don't really, I'm not really innovative, I'm not really the creative type, I don't really know how to, do things that are going to help me to optimize my time. And I bet,
Hmm.
you're like, oh, that's a false belief.
The one that I find that's actually pretty popular, that I describe in the book, is the playtime. Because that is one that everyone secretly wants to do, but they don't feel they have a right to do it. And
That's awesome. Yeah.
because, it's kids, we had our playtime. We had that time and that's really the time where we get creative, is during our playtime, because it was us coming up with, the imaginary stuff or whatever it is what we were doing as kids, drawing or whatnot. And so as adults, we still need to have our playtime, because our playtime allows us to solve problems a lot more quickly and effectively. I found that working with some of my clients that, just saying to them like, hey, just add in 10 minutes of playtime to your day-to-day life. And they're like, what's playtime? And I'm like, it could be you playing a guitar. It could be you, just sketching on your desk for 15 minutes. It could be, you just listening to something, whatever it is that you would consider playtime. And they just found that it just helps them let go of their focus, because that's the thing. A lot of us here are just super, super laser focused and wanting to, move forward, get stuff done. We're really, aimed at that target, right? But when we're so focused on a particular target, we may not be realizing that there's certain things that we can be able to solve quicker when we have the ability to have playtime, because it just gets our mind not thinking about what we need to focus on, and it allows a little bit more openness and space, and people feel so much more physically relaxed with playtime as well, which is also the funniest thing too. It's just like adding in 15 minutes of you just playing the guitar, you just feel like you can let stuff go, you're more relaxed, and you're a lot more productive doing that.
So that's my favorite one right there. I love that. That is brilliant. And it's so important. And people will be like, oh, that's just ridiculous, and we don't have time for that. So let's put it to the test, right? where do people get some of their best creative ideas? I know for me, it's usually in the middle of the night when I lay down and I'm finally getting to sleep, and then my brain goes, oh, because I just totally relax and let go. Or another time in the shower, right? Not thinking about anything, thinking about soap and lather, and I wish I had more hair, right? And then all of a sudden, hey, an idea about something that I was thinking about, yesterday, all of a sudden pops into mind. And I'm like, wow, and so I mean, it's so important. And for so many people, it feels counterintuitive, and it's because they don't understand how their mind works. They think that you have to press harder. Just drink a Red Bull and power through it. We're not going to sleep tonight. We're going to crush it and power through it. And that is the worst thing you can do, actually, right? That will just make your brain squeeze even tighter, and then you can't access your creativity with a tight brain. So I really like that one a lot.
Yeah, and it also gets down to your physiology as well, because like when we're so focused, we're not breathing as much too.
Sure.
And so when we don't have enough oxygen that's flowing through our body, it actually stops enough, basically our brain from functioning at full force. So when you do playtime, and as you said, like even if you just like, in your bed, you finally just like get to breathe. When you're taking a shower, you get to breathe and getting full oxygen in and out of your physical body. That starts to add more fuel to the brain, and your brain is just like, oh, now I can come up with these amazing creative ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you teach a lot of breath work and the stuff that you do just to get people physically relaxed.
Yes.
Yeah. Or yoga poses or things like that, just to help people feel, just to loosen them up, relax body, relax mind, like you said. Yeah. So what's another productivity hack that people can use to optimize their time?
I like to use out of doing the playtime, there's actually two, and they're sort of a combination that I like to also, just if anyone's ever going to come up with a productivity hack, like these are the three that I recommend is like the biggest three. Cause I give 10 in the book, but these are the top three. And these two are, setting time in the morning as like your prep time, and then setting time in the evening as like your close down time. And these productivity hacks help you become more focused and more productive, because when you start your day with like knowing sort of what are your top priorities, for example, this allows you to focus on them even when there's like so much chaos happening. A lot of us, especially as leaders, you're going to be fighting fires every single day. No matter what you do as a leader, there's going to be some sort of fire that you have to fight. But if you actually have a goal of what your main priorities that day, knowing that the first thing in the morning keeps you focused. And then at night, having that closing out allows you to be able to sort of really see what your day was like and to learn from your day, because that's the biggest shift, is that when you know what you're focused on, and then when you review how your day went, you get to learn so much, and it just helps increase your productivity and you able to shift or change where you need to go. And then having a middle part of your day where you just get some playtime, these are just allowing you to just be productive. So you know what you're focusing on, you got some playtime in the middle of the day, and then at the end of the day, you've got closing out and lessons learned. It really moves the needle a lot for people's productivity in the work that I do and helping them with that.
That makes so much sense. People talk a lot about having a routine, right? And ways to improve self-awareness. And if you're spending a little bit of time in the morning and a little bit of time at the end of the day just to review, right? So it just makes a big difference. And it's just a matter of getting ourselves to take the time or to make the time to do it, because we don't. We just get into our groove and our old habits, and then that's what we fall back on all the time. So, recognizing that, pausing, taking a breath, and saying, no, I need to be more intentional. Set my goal in the morning, and then review at night. It just makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I would just say, yeah. And it's just simple. It's just this, doing these things is just very simple. And that's why a lot of the work that is in productivity hacks and talking about it is simple hacks for you to do every single day. And there's things that when you start incorporating in your life, they make a huge shift, even though they're simple and something that you can just do every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and that is something that needs to be reinforced, and for everybody that's listening to the show, these things can be simple and they can be easy. And what we do is we make them big and complicated in our mind. Like, oh, I don't have time for this. And you don't know what my life's like. And I've just got to do this all the time. And that story is what's keeping us stuck. Not our reality in the situation, but the story that we tell ourselves, because we'll waste an hour talking about why we can't spend 10 minutes doing playtime. And so, that's just kind of what we do. And so you've got to recognize it and then, take a step back from it, because we all do it. So it's not like suddenly, I don't know about you, Livia, but it's not like I suddenly have this enlightenment and now, now I'm free from all these traps, right? And my own story and everything. No way. I still, even though I know all this stuff, even though you know all this stuff, we still get caught up in it, and we have to, put our own fires out, like you say, and learn how to, come back to our tools and be brilliant in the basics.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, because we're human. We're human. We're living a human life, and life, I like to always use the analogy of that. We are on sailboats and we're sailing the out open sea, and the sea has control of our life. We don't have control of the sea. So there might be days where it's like beautiful and sunny and we're coasting along. And then there are going to be days where we're hitting like a tornado or a hurricane or some sort of tsunami, And so these having, as you said, like just the simpleness of adding that back into our life again allows us to get refocused. And when we are hit by like a giant wave, we're not being pummeled, and not getting, put out badly. We're able to really like dust ourselves off and keep going and keep moving forward.
Yes, because you're building up a storehouse of peace, of calm, of energy by doing playtime, by setting goals in the morning so you're clear on what your outcome is, by reviewing at the end of the day so that you're learning and growing, and making those emotional deposits into yourself so that when it does storm and the waves come, and they will, you're able to navigate through it more resourcefully. So, I always feel like we have this kind of an energy bank account, and we're just bouncing checks all day long because we're not making enough deposits into it.
Yep, that is perfectly way to say that. We do. We are bouncing checks every single day in our energy bank account, and it's just doing these things that are just simple in our lives. Just doing a morning, setting our intention, and evening checking in, and lessons learned from moving forward. That playtime, that's us recharging ourselves again and putting money back into our energy bank account.
Yeah. So I always like to ask a couple questions. Because sometimes our, listeners will be like, well, it's easy for you to do that. You've got your stuff together and you're doing this and you're an author and you're a coach and a speaker and you're in a fancy, right? And my life is like, oh, chaos, right? So what is something that you had been through in your life or in your business that was like a big, well, we've talked about like a punch in the stomach, right? So like a learning moment, like we'd go back and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't have to learn that, right? Or have that experience. Is there something in your life that helped to, that was painful, but you learned from it and you were able to grow from it?
Oh God, there's so many of them. So the reason I do the work I do is because I've just been through so many, storms. I like to describe it as sometimes I felt like I was in a boxing rink with Mike Tyson and I got knocked out pretty badly, I'd say one point was that when, there's one point in one of my businesses that I had that I, unfortunately, just everything just hit rock bottom. I was in a relationship that just like went horribly wrong. My significant other I found out he was an alcoholic, which I kind of suspected, but he finally, came clean. And he was like siphoning money out of me secretly that I didn't know of. And then I lost a ton of money. It ended up going into like an extreme debt, and I almost like couldn't really manage, and I didn't have a home anymore. I lost my home. I was in like the worst of the worst, and I had to move back in with my family because I just had nowhere to go. Like I was basically almost to the point of homeless with no money at all in any shape or form. And it really came down to me giving so much to everyone else and not filling up my tank. And really the universe said to me, like, we're going to take you out because you're not aware of what's going on with your life right now. And so, yeah, I hit pretty rock bottom. I was very depressed. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was struggling. I was not sure where I needed to move forward, but out of it, I've, worked with, excuse me, some amazing mentors and coaches who along the way have helped me understand, as you said before, it's our beliefs. It's really our beliefs that hold us back. And that was the biggest shift for me, was really coming down to, even at a point where like I had no money in my bank account. I had to and the only way I was able to make money was I was doing like Uber delivery driving at the time.
That's
Just,
awesome.
because it was like I had a car and at least I had that, and I needed some cash. And so it was just like every day just getting to that point where it was just like I just created like little post-it notes of like more positive affirmations to really help shift my belief system at the time of like, this is only temporary. You're meant to be abundant, you're meant to have a better life, this is going to end. And it took a little while, but I got out of it. And so that's one of the things, is that for anyone who's listening to your podcast, because your podcast is amazing, so I definitely really am grateful to be here speaking with you today. But for anyone who's going through like hardship, the biggest thing to know is that like it's not for your rest of your life. Like, this is only a temporary moment, and reaching out and connecting with others who are going to help inspire you and keep you moving forward, and understand that you are the leader of your own destiny. And so you have to choose, do you want to stay in this spot, or do you want to really live the life that you truly want to live? And I believe all of us here are meant to be healthy, thriving, abundant individuals. So it really comes down to your beliefs.
Whew, that was awesome. Oh my God, that was so beautiful.
Oh,
Yes, thank you for being so honest and so open, because that was so good. I loved it. It's funny, we all go through stuff. I remember having to give blood to try to pay my rent. And every once in a while, I'll look at my wife and because there was times where, I've been through so many ups and downs in my business where we're totally abundant, and then we're like, oh my God, broke, or then or we have all this stuff now, but we feel like we're broke at a higher level, and it's like, oh my gosh, right? And so I've had so many experiences like that, and every once in a while I'll look at her and I'll be like, man, maybe I need to go get blood. And so, because I think that there's a level of how do I say this? When you hear the stuff that you and I have been through, it makes it more believable for others to think that they can be in the situation they're in right now and get out of it and be in a better place. Because when you're low down, it doesn't really feel like it's ever going to get better for you. And that fake it till you make it, I mean, that's not a joke. You literally have to fake it because you don't think you're going to make it, right? You got to fake it hard. And so when you're telling yourself, I'm going to be abundant and I'm going to be successful and I'm going to be happy, and your brain's going, yeah, right, look at your life, and you're like, yeah, well, I don't care, I'm doing it anyway, and that's the part that you just got to kind of dig in, and then you have lots of proof that can happen, because you've got through it, and I got through it. I haven't had to give blood to pay a bill for a long time. You're not doing anything for Uber right now, right?
No, I haven't done anything for Uber in a long time. So,
and that's the point, is that, for everybody that's listening, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're going through, I mean, you might be rocking right now, which is awesome. Go get it, right? But you might also be in a time where you're really struggling, and you just got to hang in there and keep faking it till you make it, and give yourself those beliefs and make that time for play. Because I know that sometimes when you're really scared, it's hard to be playful. It's hard to just breathe because you feel like you're supposed to be doing something and taking time for yourself. That's what are you doing? But that's very smart. And again, a lot of the stuff that makes breakthroughs is counterintuitive. It's going against what most people will tell you. But you got to be willing to do what most people won't, so that you can have what most people won't, right?
Exactly, exactly. If you want to have a truly, high roller lifestyle, or even just a lifestyle where you've got, just nice things that are nice for you, it is really doing something that no one else wants to do. And that's also the thing too. And being aware of like who is in your environment and really supporting you. I learned years ago, I don't know if you're familiar with the crab analogy, with a bucket of crabs.
Sure.
And it's like, people can be like a bucket of crabs, or like one crab wants to get out of the bucket and then the other ones are pulling you down.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in a situation where you feel as if like you're in a space where you're not happy and you want to move forward, it's just like, find some folks who are going to help lift you up. Listening to your podcast here, Tim, it's like, this is the stuff that feeds people and helps people know that, like, yeah, those who are doing the stuff and thriving and doing great things, like, yeah, we've all, most of us have gone through some stuff.
Oh, I don't know
Like,
anybody who hasn't. Yeah. And if
yeah.
they haven't gone through stuff, I don't listen to them because I
Exactly.
guarantee.
Yeah. But most of the folks who are there to like help inspire you, help encourage you, help motivate you, helping build you up to be a better person, no matter where you are in your life, in whatever field you're in. We come from personal experience where we've been at the lowest of lows. We've been at moments where we're like crying, like you said, like I almost like was giving blood to pay rent,
Oh, yeah.
like it's those, if you're in a spot where you feel as if like you can't move forward, just know that like you can, like, believe in yourself and take those steps every single day. And as you said, it's like, it's counterproductive if you are in a low point to think about doing playtime, but actually that's the best time to do it, because if you're struggling, you probably have a little bit more extra time to do stuff with. And if you just incorporate playtime into your day, you may come up with like the next best like idea that you can be the next, like, Steve Jobs, or the next Jeff Bezos, whatever it is, but it's just having that time where you just focus and play, that allows the opportunity for you to get out of that situation probably really quicker if you add that into your life.
Yeah, that's so good. I really appreciate you saying that. Listening, just believe in yourself and know that you'll get through it, because if you believe that hard enough and you take action and you put action into it, it will happen. You will get through it. The only secret I know for success is consistency. You just keep going. You just keep going for it, no matter what. You just keep going for it. I've asked some of the most successful people that I've ever known, is there a secret? And is there one thing you're supposed to do? And they always say, you do everything. There is no secret. You just do everything until you find something that works, and then you go crazy with it. But you try everything, and because there isn't one path, right? And even if there's one path for one person, it doesn't mean it's going to be your path. And so I like telling the stories about when we've had hardships, because it's relatable, and also psychologically, it reminds people that a lot of the gurus that are on the internet today are showing you all the shiny stuff and all the breakthroughs. And I made $10 million, with my sending out one email, right? And I'm like, that is ridiculous. And what it does is it sets up false expectations that make us feel bad about ourselves. And so when you were talking about the crabs example, envy is one of the 7 deadly sins. And when someone is successful, instead of it inspiring us, most of the time it makes us feel less than, right? So then we feel like, why do I suck? How come they're so much better? Why is it so unfair? I've not watched that person. I'm smarter than that person. Why do they have this and I don't have this? And all these things. And the reason is a couple of things. The reason is, one, they might be taking more action and consistent action. And 2, it's their peer group. Like you said, the peer group, the people around you. Now, when I first started, my dad was an electrician at the mill. Everybody was blue collar when I was growing up. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I didn't know any people that owned businesses. And all the guys in my families were electricians, right? And so what do I know about starting a business? And my plan was never to start a business anyway. It just kind of happened. And then I was like scrambling. I'm like, well, I need to make some money. I'll do this. And then, it kind of built up, and then I had to learn how to be a business person. So, but again, I think it's just so smart that you know, you're sharing with people to believe in yourself and don't compare yourself to what others are doing. Stay in your own lane and compare yourself to what you did yesterday.
Exactly, because it's you get what you focus on, and your energy that you focus on someone else is just going to give you more of anger and resentment and jealousy. And how is that going to be productive for you? And I know that for me, it was the biggest shift really was at the lowest and lowest of point where I was at. And I was just like doing the same thing. I was on social media, I was on Facebook, and I was looking at other people's lives, and they were like, oh, I just went on a vacation trip to, you know, some exotic island. And I have no money. Like, what's going on? Like, how did they do this? I know I'm smarter than them, you know? But I remember like the best advice I ever got was like, stop getting on social media, like, you know, put down, like, you know, and I just immediately was like, you know what, I can't be on here. Like, I just need to focus on what I need to focus on. And that was when, you know, I did the routines of like every morning, okay, what is the main 3 things I'm going to do? I'm going to start, you know, calling up these folks and start connecting with these folks. Okay, midday, like after I've been like focused 100% on like, you know, trying to reach out and get better into a better situation, it was like, okay, playtime. And it was during that playtime where I was like drawing and sketching and journaling that I started coming up with like great ideas and new things. And I just started to apply them out there, and they started making me money. And then at the end of the day, you know, had that review and just going, okay, what really worked today? What didn't work today? And shift it. And it was more focused on like, what's going to really help me? What's going to fill me up? What's going to come back into my energy bank account and bring it back into my life? And that's what I was doing day in and day out. And when you stop focusing on what other people are doing and focus more on what you are meant to do and what you're reaching at in your goal. And it's similar to, you know, I always say like running a business is like running a marathon. Like I used to be a big marathon runner, and it's so similar because like when you're running a small race, you want to sprint and you can get to the small race finish line really quickly. But running a marathon, like you have to prep, you have to take your time, you have to get into a good cadence, you have to be fueled up, you got to have like the mindset, the ability to keep moving forward. And you know, also when I did marathons, like I had a coach that I worked with who was a marathon specific coach, and they helped me understand like this is the good footing to do, this is the really to move forward. And it was like after that I was able to get through and do these races so much easy. I remember doing a half marathon one day before a Super Bowl. And I was like, ran a half marathon and then went to a Super Bowl party, and I was completely chilled out and had like the best time. And it was because like, it's learning, like just doing one step at a time and believing in yourself and knowing that like, you know, folks like you and I, we've been through it. And the reason why we're here helping others is that we were at the lowest lows and points of our life in the past, and we came out of it. And if I can come out of it, you can come out of it. We know that, you know, wherever you're at right now, you can come out of it too. Just got to start believing in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If I can come out of this, anybody can, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that's, you know, why, so, you know, you hit it on the head why I do this podcast, right? So that I can have amazing people who are amazing because they want to give back, right? Not just because of their accomplishments, but because they want to give back and they want to help other people, and they're willing to be honest and vulnerable so that other people can grow. And that's why I do this, right? And so if you could go back and tell the little girl that you once were, that I'm sure she's still in there, right? Every time you play. But if you could go back and tell that little girl or that young woman inside of you that was a teenager at one time, give her a little bit of advice, what advice would you give her based on what you've learned so far?
I would say to her that everything is going to be okay, and that she doesn't need to just overdo herself and put herself through so much. That is the advice I give myself, because I remember as a kid, you know, I went through a lot as well as a kid, and, you know, there was a lot of hardship that I had to go through. And there was so much that I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, it was a struggle at some points. And if I could go back and tell her like, you know what, it's all going to be okay, I probably wouldn't have stressed as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's so funny because, you know, I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of individual sessions getting into people's heads. And the biggest fear we all seem to have is I'm not enough. Right. And if I'm not enough, I'm not going to be loved. And so what do I need to do to get love? And sometimes what we have to do is act like a maniac, right? And try to be everything for everyone else so that we can finally get that validation, that approval, that love. And it's the more we chase it, the more it seems to elude us. Or even if we get it, then all of a sudden we're still not happy or fulfilled because we never just gave it to ourselves. And so I think that's beautiful advice, just to, you know, that little Livia know that, you know, you're going to be okay. You're safe. I love you and you're safe, right? And you're going to be okay. That's huge.
Exactly. And I love how you say it. It's just, it for all of us, we're striving. And I find that a lot with a lot of the folks that I work with who are just like super productivity, you know, they're like, got a goal. I want to go fast, da, 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 da. But it is that underlying feeling of like, they're not enough, but it's like, you are enough. And there's a certain point where it's, yes, the drive to be better is good because it helps you grow and it helps you learn new things, but also at the same time, it could be a little counterproductive. And it could be like, you need to let go of the throttle a little bit and understand that like, it's important to strive to be a better version of yourself every day. But it's also important to know that you are enough as you are. And, you know, some of the clients that I work with on some of the business coaching is really helping them understand that. And I remember listening to one of your podcasts about how like, you know, you almost was a, you know, went to medical, or you went to get your PhD, I think it was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it was like striving for this and this and that. And I, you know, I have some women who I work with privately doing business coaching with them, and they've done every single training and certification, and they've got, you know, like a long list of like what they can put behind their name. Right. But they're
Yeah.
just like, that is exactly, it's like, they don't feel they're enough. And part of helping them understand, like, if you're going to come up with a great business idea, you have to start believing that you are enough, and that starting from that place first and then giving yourself that time to like be open and play allows your enoughness to see what you can come up with, and it really creates the catalyst for you to really skyrocket to the next level and wherever you're at in your life.
Well said. Very well said. Yeah. And sometimes people will be like, well, how do you feel like you're enough? And the first thing you do is you just start saying it. I am enough. And it's amazing how many people I've said, just say it. And they're like, I can't. I can't. And I'm like, well, you can. You're just choosing not to. Right? And then it's a little coaxing. And then they're like, I'm enough. You know, like I'm calling, like, I don't believe it though. Right. And it's just so hard to even say the words, but that's where you start. And if you say it enough, like you said, you'll start to believe it. I think so many people when they're and I know it was true for me when I first started out, I was trying to prove myself. I was trying to prove that I was enough. And so much of my productivity was being driven based on pure fear that I wasn't going to survive, fear that I wasn't going to be anything, fear that I was going to, you know, just going to be a loser. Right. It was just pure fear. And so, and even sometimes today I have to pay attention to that. If I start, you know, driving a little too hard, I'm like, all right, why am I doing this? Am I really doing it because I want to add more value? Or am I just saying that? And what I'm secretly feeling is I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything, or that big dream isn't going to come true. And then what does that mean about me? Right. And all that fear that now you know, that fear that I tapped in now is like 10% compared to the 100% that I ran on for so many years. But, so it's not like once you, like I said before, once you have achieved a level of self-love and self-worth, that you're not all of a sudden going to have doubts, right? So you'll still have them, but I think you're just more prepared to move through it like in 10 minutes instead of like all day or all week or all month.
Exactly. You know, it's like speaking. I used to be a completely shy little girl. I didn't speak in public. And I remember the first time I ever spoke, I literally had a nervous breakdown. Like, you know, and then I decided I wanted to be a professional speaker, and that was going to be interesting, you know, but it was like, You know, now that I'm, speaking, I'm more comfortable in speaking in front of bigger audiences and on stages, but I still get scared before, I'm getting in front of people, and that's just being human. And I think it's just this thought process that, like, if you get to a certain point, you're going to be like a super person and you can have a cape and you can, leap tall buildings in a single bound. But it's like, we're still human. We still have feelings. Things still happen. And you said it's exactly just having the tools in our back pocket that we pull out now that helps us get through it. Because, especially, you and I know, like, as being entrepreneurs, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to do stuff that, normally not a lot of people want to do, and you don't want to do half the time. But it's just, if you want to move forward and you want to get to that next level, you got to start to become comfortable being uncomfortable, getting comfortable failing and failing fast and learning really quick. And that's why I recommend, review your end of your day, because that's you seeing, like, what didn't work really well for you today. Like, let's learn from it. Maybe you failed at calling a new client, but let's learn how you can do it better tomorrow. And that's the shifts that start happening for you to grow and advance and get to a life that you desire to get to.
Amen. That's right. Sister Livia, preaching on. That's awesome.
Get me started.
That's right. That's right. That's amazing. That's so exciting. So everybody that's listening, if you need a coach, if you need leadership training, if you need somebody that's going to be on your side, if you're looking for some ways to hack your productivity, Livia, how can people get your book and get in touch with you? What's the best way?
You can get a hold of me on jenveyconsulting.com. That's my consulting company that you can get a hold of me. And then also Daily Productivity Hacks is available on Amazon. You can get it as a Kindle version as well as a hard copy paperback as well. And so feel free to go ahead and get yourself a copy of it. It's a great book. It's a quick, easy read, and you can start to implement these hacks. There's 10 of them that you could implement in your life today. And as I mentioned, the top 3 today, as soon as you even add those top 3, you will see a shift in your life in 6 months, in 1 year, where you will be in a completely different place in your life that you will be so surprised that, you see the shift in your life. So I definitely recommend getting a copy off Amazon.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it too. Get the hard copy, because then you can have the book, you can read the book, and then you can have it sitting there by your, by your nightstand, staring you in the face to remind you when you lay down, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this right now.
Exactly.
And so Kindle's cool, but I like you to have the hard copy because it's right there as a visual reminder. It says, all right, grab that, or okay, I've read the first 3 tips. Now let me put it into action. And that's really awesome. So I'll have all the links and everything for how to get in touch with you and your consulting firm, and how to get your book in our show notes so everybody can have easy access, and I'll blast it out everywhere as well. So Livia, this has been fantastic. I appreciate all of your wisdom, all of your passion, all of your desire to want to get out there and contribute and share your hardships and your triumphs and what you've learned through all of that. So thanks for being such a mesmerizing guest on our program today.
Oh, thank you. It is definitely a pleasure. You do such a great, amazing work. And so I was very, very honored to have you ask for me to be on today. So I definitely love the work that you do, and you do such great stuff for all the folks that you work with. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, thank you. And everybody that's been listening, thank you, because Livia and I appreciate you so much. So make sure that you take these productivity hacks and you start to incorporate them into your life. Start to do a little yoga breathing, start to review your day in the morning, review your day in the evening, find a coach if you need a coach, or keep listening to this program, share this program with those that you care about so that they can be inspired as well. And together we'll make your day and your life a sure success. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.